What is the real cause of the increasingly common syndrome of chronic fatigue? In the last decades, we were most of the time pointing our fingers towards metabolic dysfunctions, hormonal dysfunction, especially towards a gland which is called the adrenal gland, which is always tired. That's why we call it adrenal fatigue. And the problem maybe was a virus. The problem was inadequate food. That means high carbs or stimulants like coffee, or even like other causes were they talked about a lot about the heavy metals and other toxins, even chemtrails, and and the pollution, the electromagnetic pollution with Wi-Fi. Now, all of these causes are important, and I, as a naturopath, believed them as the main cause. But with my recent studies and experiences, what I noticed is that they aren't really the main cause. And their influence becomes strong only because another factor is present. But if we remove this factor, we manage it and we heal it, all the other factors lose effect on us. I mean, not totally, of course. A negative electromagnetic field will always be damaging to us, or inflammatory, and eating a lot of sweets will always be bad for us, but they will never create a menace to our health, a serious menace, because we have solved this factor. So if you are interested into knowing about this factor, about this true cause of chronic fatigue, of adrenal fatigue, please follow me in this video. In able to discuss about the true cause of adrenal fatigue, we need to spend a few words about where does our main energy come from. Because we still believe that it's food, it will be difficult to accept this theory. Now, there is proof that people live very well, thrive without food. Now, you can see this with long fasts. A lot of people have done fasts over 30 days, months, and we even have an increasing trend of the so-called breatharians. These are people that live basically only on prana or on vital energy. And they drink water, but maybe they eat once a week, but the only reason why they eat is because for social matters, not because they need to eat for energy reasons. In order to discuss about this true cause of adrenal fatigue, we need to open our minds and think about where does our main energy come from. Because if we still believe it's food, we'll have a hard time accepting this theory. Let's look a bit at lots of people that today have undertake long fasts. We see people that fast over 30 days for months and without becoming anorexic, thriving, feeling very well. So where does this energy come from? Let's look even at this increasing trend of breatharians, which are people basically that live only on energy, but not from food. So where does energy come from? And they have perfect lives. They work full time. They can travel. They can have kids. They have no issues, and usually their health is superior than those that eat meat or cooked food or even raw food. This so-called vital energy or prana is all around us, has always been and always will be. Now, either we are aware of it or not, if we accept it or not, we're using it all the time. Now, the less food you eat, the more the body starts using this energy. And to understand better this exchange we have with it, let's look briefly at the exchange that plants have. So a tree, they absorb CO2 and they produce oxygen. Similarly, we also absorb prana, which we can visualize to make it a bit easier, like a white light. So it's pure, we absorb it and we expel congested energy. So let's say a little bit used energy, okay, or second-hand energy, let's say. Or we also use the pure energy for doing some alchemical internal work. Basically, there's also here an exchange. Now, this exchange can only work if we have some other entry points, not only with what we breathe, but we have some energy points on our spinal cord, which are called chakras. These are funnel-shaped vortex, which are located where we have our endocrine glands in various points in our body. Usually there are 7 main ones. And when these energy centers have a free flow of energy coming in and what we release coming out without, having stuck anything here, we have perfect health, because all the energy comes in, it nurtures our internal organs and all the metabolism works, and there is no issues with digestion, with detoxification. The lymphatic system flows freely. So everything is basically ideal. However, if for some reasons this energy flow gets stuck partially, never totally, if it's totally and the chakra light closes up, basically it's a death situation or a really severe sickness. So if this happens, of course, this lowers the capacity of our body to eliminate toxins. So our liver and kidneys cannot eliminate toxins as before. Our gastric juices cannot digest, are not so strong, so we cannot digest anymore the foods we could digest before. We cannot battle against viruses, so we get sick easier. There are all these reasons. Our immune system lowers, and that's where an ailment comes up, and this is where adrenal fatigue is born, and this is the real cause, basically. What causes the blockage of an energy chakra? That's the real question now, and the answer is in our thoughts and in our suppressed emotions, which are due to an internal psychological conflict. Now, in the case of adrenal fatigue, the conflict is connected to a constant tension inside and anxiety, which makes us feel all the time, like hyperactive. Our mind is always running, is racing all the time. We are very eager in finding solutions for every problem, and we tend to be very too much polite and and nice as a person, and we have no idea how to express negative emotions, especially anger. One of the key points here is to learn how to express anger, because guess what happens if you don't know how to do that? That energy here gets stuck. You don't know how to release it, and that's how the energy in a chakra lowers, and that's how adrenal fatigue starts. And this is basically the people that have this issue, which are very, very common. Basically they're always very effective in what they do, and they compensate with effectiveness all of what they suppress with emotions, because they feel that they are loved only if they're good at what they're doing, or if they're polite enough or good enough. And what happened here with their childhood life was that the parents were giving them only conditional love. So, I love you only if you obey. I love you only if you're a happy child. But I don't love you if you're angry. I don't love you if you express certain emotions which are negative, So when we were kids, very small, we learned to suppress, to hide these emotions and just show the other ones, and this basically blocked our chakras, more than one. And we learned basically how to make our parents happy or other people happy, but not ourselves. And this made us feel in time miserable. This kind of people sometimes they find themselves being depressed a bit or sad. And it's a big issue because they cannot express. They just suppress all the negative emotions they live every day. Life in these cases was full of obligations, to-dos, but pleasure was something difficult. I mean, Yes, these kinds of people have um, lots of pleasures. Can have these people. You know, you can have lots of them. The issue is they cannot live them deeply inside. They cannot enjoy them. That's the problem. And they even add more and more, but they never get there. They never get to a place they can feel, I feel happy. You know, I feel joy. I feel, you know, I'm living this pleasure deeply inside of me. It's wonderful. That's the issue here. Because the parents, which didn't do this on purpose, of course, usually they live the same issue or maybe even worse. Their motto was, what are other people saying? You know, so you have to do what pleases others. So the appearances were much more important than your inner quality of life, your emotional part, which is basically totally suppressed. So all of this suppression in time blocked our chakras, reduced the energy flow, and brought us to these adrenal fatigue, these adrenal glands, which are not, you know, tired just because we eat pasta. Then why do other people eat pasta? They're never tired. It's because at the base they have much less energy than people that don't have this energy blockage. That's the true cause. If you found this content interesting and you want to learn how to solve this energy blockage, please follow me in the video where I talk about this. Thank you for listening and hope to see you soon.